Hello, everyone. This is Carrie Desper, Chief Marketing Officer of InPartner. Welcome to our broadcast. It is my pleasure to have Gina Batali-Brooks, who is the president of Inspire, joining me. Hello, Gina. Welcome.
Hi, Carrie. How are you today?
I'm so good. I'm so good. I guess I should say welcome to you and welcome to 2021, everyone. Wow, it seems like this is just one long year that's all merged together, doesn't it?
It sure does. It's been a wild ride for sure.
Well, it absolutely has. And every little move that all of us make has never been more critical in really making sure that we wring the most energy out of our businesses and everything that we do to not only be able to survive, but thrive and scale as prosper as we get out of this thing, whenever that is. I would say that one of the moves that we made as a company last year was to form the Channel Chief Advisory Board and put together who we call the channel glitterati and all those great thought leaders that we see out there beside right beside our channel chiefs that are implementing our technologies, the people who are making headlines, and when we're on stages, the people who are on stages. And Gina, we're thrilled you're a part of that. That's been an amazing group of people who have really helped bring such amazing thought leadership to the marketplace as everyone is looking for ways to differentiate themselves and again really to survive what is just on a turbulent market that just defies explanation. So in this conversation today, I'm going to turn it over to Gina, who's going to talk about all those moves in a way that absolutely is just so clever. If you're like a lot of us, I was riveted by the Queen's Gambit. I think 63 million people in just a few weeks were riveted by this show. And Gina, without any further ado, let's turn this over to you and talk about how that show relates to the channel and how everybody can make the most out of their indirect sales. So Gina, over to you. Look forward to it.
Thank you, Carrie, and thanks for having me be part of this. So let's talk a little bit about the Queen's Gambit and how it relates to the channel. But before we get started, I wanted to set the stage a little bit. First of all, I wanted to let you know that I am a huge fan of the show, but I am not a chess player. There is not enough of those little green and white pills for me to be able to see the board the way that you need to be able to see to play. And no matter how hard I tried when I was growing up, I was not a great chess player, but I am fascinated by it, and I am fascinated by the Queen's Gambit. And so I will be presenting this as a fan of the show, not as a chess player. I also wanted to take a minute to talk about the perspective that I'm going to take in this presentation. So like Carrie said, last I saw it was closer to 70 million people have now watched the show. And I, like everybody else, fell in love with the brilliant mess that was Beth Harmon. But I was actually a little bit more intrigued by the people that supported her in her journey. And they were the people who understood that she had the capability, the passion, and the interest to become the world champion, but that she was going to need a lot of help along the way, even when she didn't know she was going to need it. And so in this presentation, I'm inviting you to take a very partner-centric view and put the partner as the player and you as the people that are supporting that partner to become the champions that they are destined to become. So with that, let's get started. The first lesson I wanted to talk about is humility. The players the key players in the show were very confident and capable people. But it wasn't until they had experiences that brought around humility that they were able to achieve what they were capable of. For Beth, that was understanding that she couldn't go it alone anymore. But for Benny, one of the key characters and her primary mentor, it was him understanding that although he was a phenomenal player in his own right and the top player in the US at the time, that Beth could do something he couldn't, and that was bring home the championship to the United States. However, she was going to need help to do that, and he knew that he was uniquely qualified to be able to do that. So I was talking to a sales executive, a particularly insightful sales executive, and I was asking him what he thought were some of the critical success factors for his channel strategy and what was going to make it a success. And he said that it was going to be very important that they approach it with brand humility. And that really struck me because the brand's position in the buying cycle has definitely changed. And he was recognizing that and really taking that to heart in how he was approaching the channel and their organization was approaching the channel. And having brand humility means understanding that your partners can do something you can't, just as Benny did. They can help you, they can help their customers put together solutions that are going to solve their needs. And the brand is an important part of that, but it's not the only part of it. And so helping the partners achieve their end game with strategies, their strategies and with tactics that will support them is really important, and understanding that it's the partner's end game that really matters, not necessarily, and your brand is not the end game. The second lesson I wanted to talk about is how the importance of understanding your partner's game. And there was a really great part of one of the episodes where Beth was getting ready to face Borgov, who was the reigning world champion, chess champion from Russia. And she was agonizing over whether to use her signature Sicilian defense opener against him. And he was the master of the Sicilian defense. And so she ended up changing her approach and losing the game. And Benny Benny really chastised her. And he said, you never play to your opponent, you play your own line. So to help partners really embrace the unique aspects of their game, you need to really understand what their line is. And that is enter in the strategic business planning process. So working with your partners to understand what is their end game, what are the strategies that they wish to deploy, what are their strengths and what are their weaknesses, and how you can support them in that process, and where your products and programs and people can help support them is really important. And there's been a lot of discussion over the years about making sure that your channel managers and your channel marketing managers are enabled to have those business conversations and financial conversations and are really invested in your partner's success. And that is becoming more and more paramount in this world that we live in now, where relationships are based on shared understandings more than they are shared personal experiences. And so the business planning process is really important in making sure you have the right supporting cast to execute the business plan discussion and execute the business plan is important. I mean, it would be like me agreeing to help Beth Harmon in her game where I said, I'm not a chess player. It's important that your channel marketing managers and your channel managers have the skill sets to be able to bring in the executives and to have those business discussions. It's also important that you understand how your partners want to play their pieces. So it's really important a lot as part of the business planning process that you understand how your partners are going to play their pieces. And there's a couple key areas that how the partners are bringing their pieces to the board are changing, especially as it relates to business opportunities and business models. And as the pressure continues to get stronger on the margins or drive margins down in the resale model, you really see partners understanding that they need to change their model and go to things like business process automation, digital transformation, looking at different service provider models to understand different ways that they're going to meet their customers' needs. And understanding what those are and how you need to change what you bring to bear to support them is really important. Also, their relationships are changing. Again, as systems and solutions become more complex and there is more technology that is hitting the market all the time, the partners are understanding that they need to bring in different vendors, different partners, and expand their ecosystem. And helping them understand how to do that and how you can help support them is another key part to the business process plan, our business planning process. Another really interesting area, and I found this just so fascinating because for the people that know us, we really focus on channel infrastructure. And IDC and EMEA did a study during the pandemic where they talked to the partners and found that 46% of the partners are actually focusing on their own digital transformation, which is just fascinating. And so understanding again how you can support your partners through that and actually use that as an opportunity to streamline your processes and get more supportive of what they're doing in their systems and infrastructure is a really unique way to look at the discussions with your partners. And finally, partners are starting to get better at using data, and especially using data to understand how the cost of doing business with their vendors. And in fact, I had one of our customers shared a story with me that they had gone to see one of their partners, and one of the first things their partners did was show them a graph of how their profitability, when they took into account the cost of doing business, how the vendor's profitability at that partner related to all of their other vendors that they worked with. And he said it was really enlightening. And so that's some of the things that are happening at the partners. And so this whole idea of reducing complexity as a competitive advantage is really coming to the forefront. So now that you understand kind of what their strategies and end games are and how they're going to use their pieces, it's really time to help them build their strategy and tactics. And one of the fascinating things about the show and Queen's Gambit was that Beth was a super intuitive player. In fact, you know, for goodness sake, she could see a chessboard on the ceiling and be able to practice the moves in her head. And that served her really well throughout her whole journey to the championship. But as she faced more sophisticated opponents, it became obvious that intuition wasn't going to do it alone. And so she needed to have practice, research, and mentoring to help her get there. And that's where the support cast really entered in. And they helped her by practicing with her, by doing research and providing her information that she needed to grow and to play her different opponents, and by just mentoring her and being there along the way. And that's really what being a supporting cast for your channel partners looks like. And we're starting to see this manifest itself in some very interesting ways where companies are doing research on behalf of their partners and providing them information that really lead to potential business opportunities, and then wrapping programs and marketing around it that will help them take advantage of those opportunities instead of asking them to connect the dots on their own. And a couple of ways that we're seeing this is on the information front, and providing information is one. Some of the customers we work with have a lot of great information on their install base, and they are figuring out ways to work with their partners. They understand their install base, products they have, where they need to be moving to, and then which partners are associated with them. And they're bringing that to their partners to and wrapping and helping them with programs, education, and marketing programs to help them take advantage of some of that and work with their install base so that they don't lose to the competition. And then speaking of competition, they're also bringing all of their relationships with analysts to bear and helping their partners understand what the competitive market landscape looks like, where there's some unique opportunities that they might want to take advantage of, and also how they're comparing to some of the other partners in their portfolio, in the vendor's portfolio, who are on the same journey with the same end game and who may be taking better advantage of some different aspects of the products and solutions that the vendor can bring to bear. So another area that we're seeing some really interesting movement is around ABM, and we're seeing some of our customers use the insights and the leads that they have from ABM and including the partners in the sales and marketing team that's going after those leads, and providing that insight to the partners who have those customers in their install base. And so it's been really interesting to see how, as vendors start to understand, as our customers start to understand ABM, how they're incorporating the partners into the full process to make it a stronger play in the market. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit because we've been talking about the process as it relates to really working with specific partners in a very high touch model to understand how to help them reach their end game and support them in that process. But I know all of you are saying, well, wow, that's a lot of work, and we don't have that many resources to be able to support all that. And what I wanted to talk about is it's really important that as you're having these discussions with your top tier partners, and that is a high touch model, that you're understanding how to then take those lessons and leverage it into your infrastructure, your processes, your data, and your people to then be able to scale what you're learning. And it all starts with making sure that you are supporting the winners. And so if you think about, again, coming back to the Queen's Gambit and the fact that Benny and Towns and Harry didn't support just anybody. They supported Beth because they knew that she had the skills and the passion and the desire to achieve the championship, and that it didn't mean it was a guarantee, but with support and help that she had the best chance of getting there. And so this comes to partner profiling and making sure that you are you're really focusing on which partners do you want to support by understanding what they bring to the table, how your products, your strategies mesh with theirs, and how you can really work together to achieve a joint end game. And that means sometimes making very hard decisions about the partners of today and whether they're going to be the partners of tomorrow, and understanding maybe some of the long tail partners that you have. Are they going to help you get there more effectively than some of your current strategic partners? And then where do you need to fill in the gaps? And then one of the things that's really important is making sure that you build into your infrastructure the ability to get information, to gather information about your partners along the way on what's working and what's not working, so that you can adjust both your profiling and how you approach partners. And then now let's talk about information. Anybody who knows me knows that data and information is a particular passion for me. It is such a hard problem, but it is such an important thing to address and get right. In fact, I was watching a TED Talk the other day about artificial intelligence, and they were talking about the fact that the importance of having data, good data to build intelligence on top of was critical, and that was actually the biggest Achilles heel for artificial intelligence today. Because if you have bad data, you have bad intelligence, and then you're making your decisions and automating things that are based on bad data to start with. Now, fixing data, I understand, is really, really hard. And so what we work with our customers on is saying, let's identify 5 to 10 key attributes to get started with that are really going to help drive your business. And then figure out, work with your infrastructure teams to figure out how to clean that data up, make sure that it works across all the systems, and make sure you have the ability to collect it as you're going forward. And then that you're really using that to personalize your experiences with your partners. It was really interesting because there's been a couple of interesting studies that have happened around personalization and how much people are willing to give information to you if they feel like it's going to help with their experience. So there was a study done by Smart IQ or Smart HQ, where they found that 72% of the customers will only engage with personalized information and personalized communications. And Deloitte did a study that found that 80% of the consumers out there are willing to share their personal information if they can see what's in it for them. And so if you can combine those two things and think about the partners, that means that the partners are going to engage more with you if it's personalized, and they'll be willing to provide more information to you to make that so. The other thing that's really important is to make sure that you understand the partner's perspective. And so if you again come back to the Queen's Gambit, and the important thing for the support team for Beth was that they understood where she was coming from, because they couldn't use tactics that were not going to work for her because of who she was and the person that she was going to become and her unique skill sets. So when you think about the partner's world, you need to understand where they're coming from, and the fact that they have not only their systems and the complexities of their systems and their unique environment they're in, but that they work with somewhere between 8 and 11 was the last number that I saw on average, 8 and 11 vendors and all of their systems and the complexities that come with that. And some of the bigger partners are even up to 100. So we work with our customers in 3 different areas and really focus on these 3 areas. One is it necessary? So really questioning all of the different things you are doing with your partners. Are you making things more complex than they need to be by requiring different processes around regulations, or requiring information that you might not need any longer? So just because you've done it in the past doesn't mean you should do it in the future, and really question that. The second thing is making sure that you are making it simple and effective to get to information, and that you are going as close to possible to one click as you possibly can. So one of the things that's really interesting, and I've had this discussion a couple of times with people, and I think it was an aha moment for me, in that really when you're doing marketing, outbound marketing, you are trying to keep eyeballs on your web pages as long as you can, because you want them to be doing research there and you want to control that research. For partners, it's actually different. You want to actually have them be in there as little amount of time as possible, because they can find exactly what they need, execute just what they need to do, and get out of there so that they can continue to do what they need to do in the selling process. And then the final thing is really thinking about the information that you need to provide to them at which stage to be effective. And so again, if you come back to the Queen's Gambit, it was one of the things that the support team did for Beth is, as she was in the middle of the competition, they were providing her the information that she needed to make the right decisions as she was moving forward. And so that is really, in a sales process, if you take the sales process as being the competition, understanding what your partners need at what point and making that available to them, both from an information and a people perspective, is really important. And then this is my tongue-in-cheek slide. Don't be afraid to give up the drug. So Beth was very reliant on her green and white pills, and she did not think she could function without them. But as she progressed, she learned that she was capable and could excel without the drugs that she was using. And so if you think about the channel and where we've come from, there's a lot of discussion going on around some of our basic core principles from a channel program perspective, around program tiers, volume-based rebates, different sales models, traditional labels of partners, and marketing plays. And it's scary, but being willing to take some risks as we look at where the channel's going and to change up the program is really key to helping the partners and you achieve the right end game. When I was looking at doing this presentation, I started to go out and participate in some of the discussions that were going on around LinkedIn, around the Queen's Gambit. And one of the ones that really struck me is a woman said that she was teaching her children to play chess. And the initiator of the conversation said, "How's that going?" And she said, "It seems to go better when they can change the rules." So there's some food for thought. So with that, let's play. Thank you so much for your time today. Here's my LinkedIn information if you want to continue this conversation. If you're a huge fan of Queen's Gambit, I'd love to have a conversation about different lessons you learned and how they could be applied to the channel.
Thank you very much, Gina. Such sage advice as always. Really such a pleasure to work with you. You're really on the front lines every day with channel leaders, and it always comes through in your presentations. What's equally exciting for us is, as a company, we really help corporations around the world optimize every move that they make in their channel. In studies that we do of our customers around the world that have blind results back to us, we don't want anybody to be nice to us, we want to hear the truth. They show a 32.3% increase in the revenue that they generate in the first year of use alone, simply by optimizing every move in that, every step in that partner journey. A 29% decrease in administrative costs, really being able to do more with less because of the automation that we give to their process, so they can spend time on those truly strategic conversations and not on the administrivia that it takes to manage a channel. ROA comes quickly, and it gives you a strategic competitive advantage when you use solutions like ours, because you really ensure that you have a world-class partner experience that makes it easy to do business with you. What's equally cool is who we work with. We work with such amazing corporations around the world. We're absolutely proud of that, and I'm proud to win that business and to be able to create value for those customers. It's a crowded slide, but don't worry, we've saved room for you right here. If you'd like to take a demo of InPartner software and see how we can accelerate the performance of your channel, please reach out. Next slide, please, at inpartner.com/demo. Or to me, or certainly to Gina, as you look to take your channel to the next level in the marketplace. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Looking forward to speaking with you soon.